AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us, AFR. We're presented by Goodwood, MedSexual Wellness. Glad to have you hanging out with us here today, live from Marucci's Hitter's House on Segan in Baton Rouge, near Airline Highway. And we got a ton to do, so thanks for hanging out with us here on this Hump Day edition. We'll talk to Noah Fleichman in about 15 minutes. He covers the NC State Wolfpack. Their basketball season came to an end. You know what that means. What does the future hold for Willie Wade? Johnny Avello from the DraftKings Sportsbook in 1 hour to talk a little bit about March Madness getting underway. Full throttle tomorrow. Tyler Shuck had an exclusive interview on OTB. Mama Scone, the bracket challenge returns today. Man, we got a ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
In 1998, T. Martin led Tennessee to the very first ever BCS national championship. Remember that well, watching them beat Florida State that day. And T. Martin is a guy that if you're of a certain age and remember that team, remember his brief NFL career, but that in some respects feels like yesterday. When I was looking at T. Martin's bio today, it surprised me to learn that he got his first coaching job at Morehouse back in 2006. It has been 20 years that T. Martin has been a coach at the high school, college, and NFL levels. And now T. Martin is LSU assistant coach. T. Martin. That news breaking on Wednesday that he'll join Lane Kiffin's staff as an offensive analyst. I love this for a lot of reasons we'll get into in just a second. But a quick sort of catch up of how T. Martin ends up in Baton Rouge. So the last 5 years he's coached with the Baltimore Ravens. As a receivers coach and as a quarterbacks coach working with Lamar Jackson for the last 3 years. And when John Harbaugh was fired in Baltimore, the new staff coming in with Jesse Minter did not retain T. Martin. So Martin has been sort of a coaching free agent. And Lane Kiffin, when he was at Southern Cal, hired T. Martin back in 2012, so almost a decade and a half ago. And although Kiffin only lasted at Southern Cal 12 and then into 13 when he was fired at Ogeron, became the interim in 2013, T. Martin stayed at Southern Cal from 2012 through 2018, so through Clay Helton. So, I mean, he was there for 7 seasons before then going back to his alma mater, Tennessee. So T. Martin's been everywhere. He coached high school football in the Atlanta area. He's from Mobile, coached high school football in the Atlanta area. I mentioned he coached his first college job was at Morehouse. He's been at Kentucky and Southern Cal and Tennessee and with the Baltimore Ravens. And he's coached at New Mexico for a minute. I mean, he is well-traveled and done just about everything. And so when you talk about T. Martin, adding a guy like this as an offensive analyst is a major coup. Let me count the ways. Back in 2016, 24/7 Sports named T. Martin the National Recruiter of the Year. So I know that the world has changed with how rosters are recruited and built with NIL and portal and all that sort of stuff. It's no longer about 3 years of developing a relationship with, elite level high school prospects and then getting them to campus. There are going to be some of those, but by and large, rosters now, and certainly under Lane Kiffin, are built through the transfer portal. But you're still talking about an elite level recruiter, which means he's a real relational guy. I just mentioned he's been at Southern Cal and Kentucky and Tennessee. So he's been at major programs. He's been in the SEC. He's got relationships in the Atlanta area when he coached high school there and at Morehouse. He's from Mobile, so two real hotbeds for talent in the Southeast. And he's got NFL experience. He spent the last 3 years working with Lamar Jackson, a freaking NFL MVP. Oh, by the way, he's also been an offensive coordinator and a play caller at the major college level. So you're talking about a guy with a world and wealth of experience that is now joining this staff as an analyst. So when I look, though, I'm a little curious. And I don't think this is a negative in any way, but I am a little curious what T. Martin's role is going to be on staff, because you are looking at a staff that is swelling right now. Just for example, like, you have co-offensive coordinators already with Charlie Weiss, who works with the quarterbacks as well, and then Joe Cox, who also works with the tight ends. Now, Charlie Weiss works with the quarterbacks, but so does Lane Kiffin. Well, then there's Dane Stevens, who's also on staff as a quarterbacks coach. That's his title. So you've got three working with quarterbacks. Well, remember, I mentioned that in his career, we've also seen T. Martin work with receivers. Well, you've got George McDonald, who's the passing game coordinator, also working with the receivers. And then on top of that, you've got Sawyer Jordan, who is the inside receivers coach. So that's two right there specifically designed to work with receivers. And then you have analysts for just about every position, including Antonio Parks, who is a wide receivers analyst. Do you get my point here? Like, it's pretty crowded already on that coaching staff. So I don't know exactly what T. Martin's going to do, but I don't particularly care. He's a guy with tremendous experience and tremendous credentials, and you get to add him to staff, and he makes you even incrementally better. You do it. But my biggest takeaway of adding T. Martin and really everything that LSU has done in this offseason is ain't nobody telling Lane Kiffin no. And I mean, they ain't telling him no about nothing. It doesn't matter if he wants to bring Charlie Weiss in and bump him from $2 to $2.5 million a year, or he wants to bring in 3 different receivers coaches. He's going to do it, and they're going to make happen whatever he needs to happen. He wants to bring in Kevin Smith, but it's going to take a pay raise and naming him the associate or assistant head coach. They're going to do it. And then you look at the support staff as well, how many dual roles they have. Like, Billy Glasscock is the GM. We know that. Well, J.R. Belton was on staff at LSU and is really a rising star and has continued to elevate. Well, now J.R. Belton, they didn't move him out. They promoted him to assistant general manager for external operations. But then they've also got Adam Clark, who's the assistant general manager for internal operations. I don't know how all this fits on the business card. Well, remember, Lane brought in Thaddeus Rivers to be his director of football operations. Well, Thaddeus Rivers is now the senior executive director of football operations. That's because you've got Tyler Vines as the assistant director of operations. But then you've also got the player personnel department, where Mike Williams has come in as the senior executive director of player personnel, but Jeff Martin was someone they wanted to retain. So he's the director of player personnel. But they also brought in Austin Shelton from NC State, who's also the director of player personnel. And then there's Carl St. Cyr, who they retained as the assistant director of player personnel. Oh, and Sam Petito, who they also retained, who I think has a world of value, is also the assistant director of player personnel for college scouting. You getting all this? You don't need to memorize it. The point is, whatever Lane Kiffin wants and however much it costs, they're going to give to him. LSU, a year ago, under Brian Kelly, when his staff in year 4 had swelled to the biggest it was, Brian Kelly had 61 staffers. That's like the whole thing, support staff, everything. 61, approximately $5 million support staff budget. The on-field assistants were 10.82. The whole coaching staff was 21.6. That's when you include BK. And when you look at the entire staffers, that extended another $5 million in the budget. That was with 61 staff members. If you go look at the LSUsports.net football staff listing, there are remember I told you last year there were 61. There are currently 75 people listed on the football staff. That's before we talk about T. Martin, who was added today, and Heath Dado, who we broke the news was added yesterday. So by my count, and I don't math, but that means you're at 77, at least 77 people on the football staff. There's going to be as many football staff members as football players this year. And if Lane Kiffin says he needs them or wants them, he's going to get it, no matter what it costs. And that number, it is going to be jaw-dropping to see whenever all of this budget is revealed and we see what every line item is. But T. Martin, it's a coup getting him on staff with all of his experience. He will make you better. How he fits, I don't know. It's not my job to figure out how he fits. What I know is that's a guy that has familiarity with Lane Kiffin. He has a ton of experience both in the SEC and major college football and the NFL, where all these guys are trying to get, and you find a way to integrate him into what you're doing to make you better. T. Martin joining the LSU football staff, number 77 on the football staff. All right, we're glad to have you hanging out with us here. Our show Open Every Day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of your Fighting Tigers of LSU. You're going to be out at the box tomorrow or this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday for LSU, Oklahoma. Make sure you have plenty of delicious ice-cold Bud Light, the official beer of the national champion LSU Tigers. Remember, if you're out at great local retailers, look for those officially licensed LSU 16-ounce bottles and 12-ounce cans. They've got the national championship aluminum bottles, the collectibles. So make sure you get 2 cases, one to drink and one to keep. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. All right, excuse me. We're here at Marucci Hitter's House on Segan in Baton Rouge. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. We got a ton to do. Certainly, there has been a massive investment in LSU football. Nobody can deny that. The real big question now is how much of an investment is LSU going to make in men's basketball? Well, you probably noticed that NC State lost their first 4 game to Texas a night ago. So what does that mean now for Will Wade, his future in Raleigh, and possibly in Baton Rouge? We're going to get to that as we continue. Noah Fleichman covers the Wolfpack. He'll be with us next. Stay here. It's AFR.
AFR.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. You can always go to getgordon.com, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. There's rarely a day that goes by where you're driving on the road and you don't see an accident. Maybe you're not witnessing the accident take place, but you see accidents pull over to the side of the road or whatever the case may be. And in every instance, somebody's at fault. And the person who's not at fault has been inconvenienced. Either you're out of work, hopefully there's no injury. Maybe it's just the inconvenience of not having your vehicle for whatever length of time that may be. The bottom line is when that's the case, someone else owes you damages. Let Gordon and his team go to work to get you the maximum amount that you're entitled to. Go to getgordon.com. Get Gordon and get it done.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
I wouldn't worry about us. We'll be held next year. This will be the worst team we have in NC State right here. I just watched it. This is the floor of our program. We know what's got to get fixed. We've got a very clear mind on what we need and how we need to go about attacking and doing it. And that's what we're going to do. Like I said, as soon as the plane hits the ground tomorrow in Raleigh, we're to work. There's no vacation. There's no time off. We're getting to work, and we're going to get this thing turned around.
Will Wade, after the Wolfpack lost their first 4 game to Texas. Hey, we're here today at Marucci Hitter's House. You want to play baseball or softball like the pros? Visit Hitter's House, the superstore from the official bats of MLB. Locations in Baton Rouge, Lafayette, New Orleans. Plus, indoor cages, the latest gear, open daily 24/7 with member access. Visit hittershouse.com, hittershouse.com, Hitter's House. Train like the pros. So a disappointing end after a late season swoon for Will Wade and the NC State Wolfpack, losers of 8 of their last 10, including a 68-66 loss in the first 4. Noah Fleichman covers NC State for the Wolfpacker. That's part of the On3 network. Good enough to hang with us for a couple of minutes. Hey, Noah, thank you for the time. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing really well. Okay. Boy, there was that run in the middle of the season where they won 6 straight in conference, and then the late season swoon. Put a bow on year 1 of the Will Wade era for us at NC State.
Yeah, it comes down to not being able to close out games. So the last, stretch you talked about, they finished the year 2-8 in their last 10 games. Losing games to Miami, they were up 7 with a minute to play and lost in regulation. They were up, 9 at Notre Dame and lost in overtime. And then, yesterday tied the game late, but weren't able to close it out. So that was kind of the story of the Will Wade era, or at least season 1 of it. Just not being able to finish games when they need to. And it started in the non-conference. They had Kansas on the ropes at home and lost in overtime. So I mean, that kind of set the tone in these big games, and it ended up being what cost them.
So I think it's safe to say over the last 2 weeks, and maybe even going back about a month, the conversation about Will Wade potentially returning to LSU has gotten louder here. How loud has that conversation been in Raleigh?
It really wasn't a thing until it became a thing in LSU. And even then, it's really not been a thing in Raleigh. I mean, there's been not really much traction to it. He's basically said, all the things that you would expect him to say. But he's been adamant about, not really wanting to go there. And, I mean, it started with this radio show comment he made, I think, a month or 2 ago. It really is before the LSU stuff came out. But when you look at it now, it's even more interesting, where he was talking about, he got fired at LSU, takes a year off, and then he goes, it's not too often that 3 years later you're in a better job. And so that's a quote that I keep referring back to when people ask me about LSU, is he looks at NC State right now as a better job than LSU.
Yeah, I mean, NC State's a place that cares about basketball, and LSU really didn't, except for when Will was here. What do you suspect, Noah, or can you tell us let's say hypothetically LSU does make a run at Will Wade. What is the appetite of the NC State administration to work to keep Will Wade?
Oh, they'll do everything in their power to keep him. He was obviously one of their top targets a year ago after firing Kevin Keats, who was 1 year removed from making the Final Four. You don't make that move unless you know you're going to get your guy, and they went after Will and got him from McNeese. So I think this is an opportunity, whether if LSU's job does open and the Tigers come calling, I think NC State will do everything in its power. And they gave him everything he wanted in year 1, and it seems like he's going to get everything he wants in year 2. So it's going to take a lot, I think, from LSU to pry him from Raleigh, more than just, paying him the money and the salary. I don't think he really looks at that as the make or break. It's more of, what can you give him to build a roster? NC State has given him everything he's asked for in the first year.
What has he asked for?
Yeah, he just wants resources to build a roster. When you look at the roster he had this year, they mismanaged what they spent it on, but they gave him, north of $10 million to use. So when you look at it that way, he's mentioned he's having everything needed to win. It's on him. They obviously did not build a roster that was conducive to winning, and they're looking to fix that going into next week.
One of the sort of pieces of scuttle down here, Noah, is that Will wanted in the $10 to $12 million range guaranteed for his roster, and that maybe NC State came short of that number this year. Do you know if there's any truth to that, or what that investment has been in the roster itself?
No, I'd say the roster investment's been right in that range that you mentioned. What he wanted. They kind of, they made some things work last year in the roster building process, but by the end of it, he got, the money he needed to make it work and to get what he wanted. So it was kind of one of the things where they may have not got the right people from the portal. You can spend all the money you want. If you don't get the right players, it's not going to work. And I think that's kind of what they're figuring out right now.
Noah Fleischman's with us a couple more minutes. The Wolfpacker, a part of the On3 network, covers NC State. What about the fan sentiment around Wade from, let's say, where it was a month and a half ago to now after we mentioned losing 8 of the last 10?
Yeah, they're not happy with him, obviously, because he came in with a big, confidence, losing confidence, talking about a red reckoning for college basketball and how they're going to come in and make noise. But, at the same time, he kind of met expectations that he set for this program, which was just getting back to the NCAA tournament. I mean, they didn't even make the ACC tournament a year ago, so it's a step in the right direction. I'd say that, some people, the loud people on social media aren't happy with it. But I think the overall, if you polled, 1,000 NC State fans, you'd probably get 85 to 9% being happy with what he's done in year one. So far, so good from that point of view. And they're more banking on what he can do in year two, learning from what happened and moving forward with that.
Noah, where would you rate your level of surprise if Will Wade does leave Raleigh after one season to return to Baton Rouge?
I would be pretty shocked, just based on what he said about, the job there, what he said about being at NC State. But also, if you look at his, path in college basketball, he's been everywhere at least 2 seasons. He was at Chattanooga for 2 years, at VCU, my alma mater for 2 years, before going to LSU, to McNeese for 2 years, now at NC State. So when you look at what he does, he at least stays somewhere for 2 seasons everywhere he's been. And I'd expect that at least from NC State. But at the same time, I would expect him to be at NC State for 5 to 7 years. This is the place that he wants to build. He's mentioned that. I think a big part is his family. His wife and daughter really love living in Raleigh. His wife's from Charlotte, a 2.5-hour drive back to see, her family. So it's kind of more than just the job. I think, the family plays a big role in this, and everything on that side, they've really loved living in Raleigh.
He's Noah Fleichman, covers NC State for the Wolfpacker, part of the On3 network. Suspect that from LSU's perspective, we'll know in relatively short order with the Wolfpack season coming to an end what the plans might be. Hey, Noah, thanks for a couple of minutes, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course, it's our pleasure. It's After Further Review. We're here at Marucci's Hitter's House. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. We're brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Energy-efficient replacement windows, beautiful entry doors, hardy plank vinyl siding. They do shutters and shades as well. It's Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. As we start to get a little bit of a warm-up, I know we had this cold snap, but the 80-degree temps will be back this weekend, and before you know it, we'll be into triple-digit heat indexes. That AC is pumping. You want to make sure you keep your energy bills low? Well, reduce those costly air leaks. How do you do that? With energy-efficient windows that are custom made and installed to the exact specification of your home. So you cut down on those costly air leaks. You keep the cool air in. Your AC doesn't have to work as hard. Your home's energy efficient. Your energy bills go down. In time, this investment into your home pays for itself, and it'll increase your home's resale value. And did I mention you're going to have an exceptional customer service experience? That is guaranteed with Relief Windows. Windows, door siding, they do shutters and shades too. Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Thanks to Noah Fleichman for a couple of minutes there. And I don't disagree with really anything Noah said there. I think he's right. I think all of that is right. If Will Wade's been there for a year and he's said all the right things, I don't know why you would be dismissive, especially coming from the perspective of someone who covers NC State, who maybe isn't familiar with the inner workings here. But when you have the power structure at LSU aligned the way it is, there are powerful people that want Will Wade back here. And you also, however, have a faction of very influential people that it's not necessarily anti-Will Wade. It's they don't want to spend the money to buy out Matt McMahon, to buy out Will Wade, to throw that extra, $11 million for Matt McMahon and his staff, $5 million to buy out Wade, throw more dead money on the books, and then on top of that, what you're already doing, of course, paying the coach and paying the roster. At some point, the people asked to write those checks say enough, and it feels like the more of those types of people I talk to, the ones, not fans, like fans overwhelmingly want Will Wade back. But I'm talking about the people that are going to be responsible for writing those checks and footing the bill for this. Those people don't seem as enthused, especially with what they were all collectively just asked to do for football and buying out Kelly and paying Kiffin and then paying this roster and so on. So perhaps it's not a matter of desire. Maybe it's more a matter of timing and circumstance that might prevent this from happening. I think it's a coin flip. I wouldn't put anything past this governor when his mind is made up on something and he passionately and desperately wants something to happen. I wouldn't put it past him to find a way to make this work. But I also think there's enough people with plenty of stroke and influence who are not in favor that could very well get their way. So as this develops, we'll keep you posted. All right. Hump Day Show is brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We appreciate our friends. Remember, HRT, peptides, they're the best with the greatest selection, lowest prices, never any contracts. You can visit them online at yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. Okay, let me knock out a quick break, y'all. We'll come back here from Marucci's Hitter's House. We'll go around the SEC. Taylor's here for Bourbon Dictionary in about 15 minutes from right now. Johnny Avello from the DraftKings Sportsbook in 30 minutes talking some March Madness. Mama Scone returns. She'll be here in hour 3 to make her picks. I'm sure you're all waiting with bated breath. And you'll all wonder how such a sweet, sweet woman could produce something as vile and awful as me. But we'll have that conversation coming up in hour 3. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Stick around. It's a Hump Day edition of AFR.
AFR.
AFR is brought to you by our friends over at Rev R-E-V. Let's Rev. Let'sRev.com. 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 More than 70,000 Louisiana home and business owners trust Rev. I'm in that number. Parish Construction and Roofing, we're in that number. Rev does all of our internet at our office, our automation, our phones, all that sort of stuff. Guarantee Media. We are Rev customers as well. If you're a business owner and you need internet service provider, if you need phone, automation, security, TV, all of that, Rev can help. And they're backed by lightning fast speeds up to 5 gigs and local service. You're never forwarded to a call center in another country. The people right here in our community answer the phones and come to help. It's Rev. Let'sRev.com. R-E-V. Let'sRev.com.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
We're ready to play. I mean, the hardest time in the season is waiting, and we have to wait after the conference tournament is over until the pairings are announced, and then you take off 2 or 3 days, and then you got to wait another week. You're kind of like chomping at the bit, so you got to kind of keep them fired up, and at the same time, we've had good practices. So, yeah, it's here. It's, it's that time of year.
Kim Mulkey was a guest on Off the Bench with Hester and Flynn earlier today. The Tigers will take on Jacksonville, the Dolphins. Did you know that, Delandra? The Jacksonville Dolphins, 24-8 on the season. That game's at 5 o'clock on Friday, 5 o'clock Friday at the Maravich Center. Tigers are going to be a big favorite. The line is... Alondra, you don't have a mic on. It's okay. Do you have a headset? Okay. All right. I want you to guess. LSU against Jacksonville. Our friends over at DraftKings have set the point spread at what?
The spread?
The point spread. How much? LSU's favored by how much?
25. More than that? 50.
25. That's cute. 51.5.
That's crazy.
51
My second guess was better.
Yeah, you were right on it.
Yeah.
You doubled it. That's the point spread in an NCAA tournament game. 51.5.
That's wild.
That is illustrative, though, of why you have a giant chasm in women's college basketball with the haves and the have-nots. There are just a very select few programs that actually invest the resources to be championship-level good, and LSU is one of them. That's why you have a 51.5 points. What? 51.5? Like, that almost looks fake. So Johnny Avello, the DraftKings Sportsbook director, is going to be with us in 24 minutes to talk March Madness. I was going to ask him about the men's tournament, but I got to ask him about LSU being a 51.5 point favorite. Oh my God! Like, you actually going to get action on that number? That's insane. Anyway, okay. By the way, this was good. So this weekend will be Flau'jae Johnson's last game, hopefully games, at the PMAC. I'm assuming they're going to win, even if they don't cover the 51.5-point spread. Anyway, but Kim got a little emotional today talking about Flaugier.
If we're fortunate enough to beat Jacksonville, get out here on Sunday and watch Flaugier.
Yep.
That will be her last game ever. I get emotional because that kid has meant so much to our program. We should sell it out. And not only should we sell it out, I don't want to hear anybody gripe about the cost of a ticket. We are not in charge of that. The NCAA sells those tickets, but that kid means so much to this university. And if we don't sell it out, there's no baseball game Sunday. And we need to do it, and we need to promote it because she's going to be dearly missed, not just in my program, but at this university.
Kim Mulkey. I love how she had to stop mid-sentence and say, don't complain about the cost of a ticket. Should be a great weekend, though, over at the Maravich Center for the ladies. Here's hoping they get a couple of wins, move on to the Sweet 16, and trek on what we hope is back to the Final Four and the National Championship. LSU's at 2 seeds, the highest seed they've been under Kim Mulkey. LSU's been a 2 seed since 2008. It's been a hot minute since LSU's been this high of a seed in the NCAA tournament. So here's hoping the ladies have a great weekend and keep on dancing all the way throughout this NCAA tournament. Hey, we're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Of course, Flaugier is one of the NIL endorsers for Our Lady of the Lake. And we've told you plenty about throughout the football season, the men's and women's basketball season, moving now into baseball and softball and gymnastics, and so many of the championship level partners that LSU athletes have with Our Lady of the Lake through so many amazing NIL deals. But it's not just athletes, of course. They've also got the student contract at the health center, and then also everyday champions like you and me, for whatever it may be. If it's your general health, like I've told you, my personal physician is Dr. Curtis Chastain at the Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. If it's your pediatrics, the standalone children's hospital, which is just a world-class facility. We'll be there in a couple weeks with Drew to see Dr. Shaw as neurologist there. If it's heart health or cancer or stroke patients, Our Lady of the Lake gives you world-class care right here at home. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. Okay, Muse, hit it around the SEC.
Around the SEC, bringing you the biggest news from the nation's best conference. The Tennessee Volunteers.
Josh Heupel has updated the status of Tennessee's starting quarterback competition as the Vols took to the field for spring practice on Monday. Of course, 4 Tennessee quarterbacks competing for this job. Freshman enrollee Brandon Faison, redshirt freshman George McIntyre, redshirt freshman Mason Phillips, and redshirt junior transfer from Colorado, Ryan Staub. Heupel said it is an open competition and will remain so throughout the spring, not to be expecting anyone to be named the starter until the Vols get to fall camp.
The Missouri Tigers.
Couple of injuries coming out of Missouri spring practice. Eli Drinkwitz met the media here on Wednesday and announced leg injuries, I should say, to both Josh Atkins and Elias Williams. Didn't really elaborate, just said they'll be back at some point. Atkins is a redshirt senior, part of the 28-man transfer haul, 2 years at Arizona State. He was expected to start at right tackle for Mizzou, so that's significant. Williams, redshirt sophomore defensive tackle, poised for a bigger role, played 44 snaps, of course, across 3 games in 2025.
The Texas Longhorns.
Some good news for Steve Sarkisian. Western Kentucky transfer guard Lawrence Seymour has been granted an eligibility year for 2026. That was not going to be a given. Kind of a curious case when he committed to the Longhorns back in late January. Entering his 6th year of college, made stops at Miami, Akron, and Western Kentucky. In 2023, that was the year of contention. He transferred outside the portal window, so took a residency year and did not play a snap. NCAA said that qualifies, so he will be eligible for the Longhorns in 2026.
The Ole Miss Rebels.
And some good news for Mike Bianco and the Ole Miss baseball team. Number 2 starter, Cade Townsend, he left the start last week against Texas with shoulder soreness. The MRI on Monday came back clean per Mike Bianco. He released that in a statement. So no damage. No, it did show some inflammation, but that's it. He'll begin the rehab and throwing on Tuesday and will progress day to day. That is around the SEC.
Thank you, Muse. We're here today at Marucci Hitter's house on Segan near Airline. Come on in. They always give us cool swag to give away. We got armbands, so come get some for free. We got tons of 104.5 ESPN hats, shirts, great stuff. You can even enter to win tickets to see Post Malone and Jelly Roll in Tiger Stadiums. Come on by and see us here at Marucci's Hitter's house. Our Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood. Remember, we talk to you all the time about, yes, they do ED treatments. HRT could be life-changing. A simple blood test can let you know if you're a candidate. And they have been on the forefront of the peptide movement. Most people are starting to hear now more commonly about peptides. You've heard me talk about peptides for a long time now. These are non-pharmaceutical options. These are strands of amino acids, help to maximize your body's natural function for things like energy, muscle repair, mental clarity, sleep, hormone balance, growth hormone production. So many things that contribute to letting you live your best, fullest, most vital life. You need to learn more. Lowest prices, never any contracts, yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. Okay, let me knock out a break, y'all. We'll come back. Taylor will be here for a little Bourbon Dictionary, so get your booze questions in. Email us, tweet us, text us, 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Lots of ways you can get involved in the show. Johnny Avello, DraftKings Sportsbook Director, in 17 minutes. Mama Moscona will be here in hour 3. Next hour, we also got to talk about LSU's win over Grambling. I got a few takeaways. It was not pretty, and I was at the box, but got a few takeaways that I want to knock around. We'll do that as we continue here from Marucci's Hitter's house on Segan near Airline. Stick around.
After further review.
Love telling you about the Watermark and the Renaissance. Watermark downtown, Renaissance Southtown, not far from where we are here today. The Renaissance Baton Rouge is on Bluebonnet near I-10. So if you exit Bluebonnet from I-10, like you're heading toward Perkins, you're heading west. Well, I guess technically the interstate is east and west. Then technically you're going south, but really you're heading toward the river. But it doesn't matter. You understand what I'm saying. If you exit I-10, you're heading toward Perkins, you'll see Renaissance Baton Rouge on your right, and there's so many great ways to explore and enjoy that amazing property. There's Tallulah inside of Renaissance Baton Rouge, great place for a client lunch. Great place to have a romantic dinner. Maybe you just want a cocktail. They've got the bar area. They've got the terrace, which is outdoor. So they've got an indoor-outdoor flow there at Tallulah into the terrace. Maybe you have an event coming up. Awesome. There's so many different possibilities for how they can configure their meeting space. You just got to learn more at Renaissance Baton Rouge.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. They're the gang with the slang.
Keep it 100. I don't know what you're talking about.
This is Bourbon Dictionary with Matt Moscona and Taylor Calandro.
I don't understand.
All right, rolling along here from Marucci's Hitter's house. Taylor hasn't answered yet and can't. I'll just fill you in a little inside baseball here. So when we're on remote, we don't call guests from studio. We call them on site. We have a remote audio board and everything here on site, and so we call from a number on site. And so Taylor, no doubt, is probably just rejecting the phone call because he sees a number he's not used to. So anyway, I just text him. We'll see if Taylor can jump aboard. So if you got your booze questions, get them in. Email us, tweet us, text us. 225-396-4400, 396-4400, 396-4400. Mike on the text line asked about William Schmidt, who, Jay Johnson, excuse me, got Will Wade on the brain after our guest earlier. Jay Johnson said after the game on Sunday that there was nothing to it, that he's fine. I do not believe we should take Jay Johnson at his word. That is not to be insulting to Jay Johnson in any way. It's just that Jay Johnson lies about injuries. And that's completely his prerogative to be not forthcoming with injury information. We've sort of laughed about the Gavin Guidry thing from a year ago where he's going to be back next week, and he ends up having back surgery and misses the whole year. And when Jay was like, it's not an arm, it's lower body. So no, it's above. It's sort of like the middle part of the body. Like He had a back injury. But it took us nearly a month before Jay acknowledged in 23 that Chase Shores had Tommy John. It was done. So I'm not suggesting, but that's not a criticism. He can do it. It's his program. He can handle injuries how he wants. It's totally fine. But ultimately, I'm saying you don't take Jay at face value when he's talking about injuries. Like because he's not being truthful, or he isn't known to very commonly be truthful. So I don't know what that holds, but I haven't. Usually, if there's something going on, that word will spread a little bit. I haven't had that get back to me at all. Now, I haven't aggressively pursued an answer, but I would assume that we'd be in line to see William Schmidt on Saturday. Remember, this is a Thursday, Friday, Saturday series. So that's another thing that people have asked is, might you see some type of change in the rotation for this season? And for this weekend or moving forward. I don't know necessarily that that's anything we're close to for several reasons. Number one, I don't know that you have a great option. Like, if you wanted to move Schmidt up to Friday, number one, you're not going to do it this weekend because he pitched on Sunday. You're not going to move him up to Thursday. So, that's to the front of the rotation. That's not going to happen. That would also negate the advantage you have in Game 3, and I don't know that it gives you an overwhelming advantage on Game 1 because he hasn't been super consistent either. And then you haven't had anybody else step up to warrant that opportunity. Zach Cowan was very good in relief on Friday, and he has been a weekend starter. He was that at Wofford, but I don't know that that's the direction you go. One thing that I do know definitively is that they were looking early before the season started at Cooper Williams because Williams would give them a left-handed option. And so it would give you the opportunity to go righty, lefty, righty, or however they might position it if Williams was able to join the rotation. But Cooper Williams has certainly not shown that ability so far this year. He's had some bumpy spots. Now, as a matter of fact, this was after the game against Grambling last night. Muse, can you play this one? This was Jay after the game against Grambling when he talked about Cooper Williams having the really two good outings. Remember, he pitched the 9th against Vanderbilt and was lights out, and then was really good in relief on Tuesday against Grambling.
He's a good pitcher. He stubbed his toe a couple times, like several of these guys have, but he's a big part of our now. He's a big part of the future, and I'm really proud of him. That was an electric 9th inning the other day, and these guys can hit. Like I watched them for 3 games with my own eyes when they were here in that little tournament deal, and we made a lot of good pitches tonight. But he went through the top of the order there, and those guys have put up some numbers. They scored some runs at Southeastern Louisiana. They scored 14 on Sunday, so he did a nice job with their better hitters right there.
So all that to say that I don't think Williams has had 2 nice relief outings in a row, but I don't know that that's a guy that you're ready to say, let's thrust him into the weekend rotation. So again, I don't know that you have a better option right now. So if a solid option were to emerge, okay, but it certainly wouldn't be this weekend when you're playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If this weekend doesn't go well, maybe next weekend with an extra day to prepare could be an opportunity in what would feel like a pretty pivotal weekend where you have Oklahoma at home, Kentucky at home, because after next weekend against Kentucky, you have this gauntlet staring you in the face where 3 of your 4 weeks are on the road, and it's at Tennessee, you're at Ole Miss, you're home against A&M, and you're at Mississippi State. Like, that's brutal. That is as brutal a stretch as you're going to face all year with 3 of those 4 on the road. So if it doesn't work out this weekend, maybe next weekend with Kentucky coming in is when you might look at something if there's an option available, but I don't necessarily see that option available right now. All right, it's After Further Review. We are brought to you by Shaw Bills Tire and Auto Service, ShawBillsTire.com, ShawBillsTire.com. Locations all over South Louisiana. You can find the location nearest you at ShawBillsTire.com. You can shop tires online. You can schedule service online. You can chat with an associate online. Super user-friendly website. Great people. They've been serving our community since 1968, nearly 6 decades. You don't stay in business for 6 decades if you're not selling a great product at a fair price and treating people right. That's what Shawbills has done since they opened their doors in 1968 down in Morgan City. So, name brand tires at wholesale prices, and they'll treat you like family, which keep you coming back year after year after year. ShawbillsTire.com. ShawbillsTire.com. It's Shawbills, where we keep you rolling. All right, y'all, apologies there. I don't know what happened with Taylor. Usually we're good for Bourbon Dictionary. Didn't answer the phone, so we'll plod along here. SportsCenter's coming up. We'll get you caught up on national headlines here at the top of the hour. When we come back, excited to have Johnny Avello here. We catch up with Johnny usually around big events. Last time we talked to him was out in San Francisco for Super Bowl 60 on Media Row. Tomorrow's the start of the NCAA tournament in earnest. So Johnny Avello, the director of the DraftKings Sportsbook, he will be here with us, talk a little bit about the field, props, lines, odds, futures, all the sort of stuff that you want to know. So excited about that conversation with Johnny Avello. We'll get to it next, coming up right after SportsCenter. It's AFR from Marucci Hitter's House.
After further review.
Put a button here on hour number 2. Remind you about Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Hey, remember, if you're thinking of popping the question, gents, you get a lot of options. There's a lot of jewelry stores, and there's a lot of people who know a guy who can get you the thing at the place with the stuff at the good price, and whatever. Lee Michaels has been helping Louisianians get engaged for 4 decades. They are an incredible company with great people who specialize in what they call the Lee Michaels experience. It's not just buying a diamond ring. It's about having an experience you're going to remember forever. Remember, that ring that you buy is a symbol of your love forever and something that is going to be passed down in your family for generations. Make it a meaningful experience. lmfj.com.